Hi, it's Doug. What's the most colorful insect you've ever seen? Well, a couple years ago, I visited the state of Florida, and I was amazed to see these things. They're some of the most colorful grasshoppers I've ever seen. It's called a lubber. And what was strangest of all? It was the middle of December when I saw them. Florida doesn't ever get very cold in wintertime, so you can see lots of insects there all year. Someone named Kylie has a question about insects. Let's give her a call now.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Kylie.
I have a question for you. Where do bugs go in winter?
That's a great question.
If you live somewhere with cold, snowy winters, you might have noticed this too. Just a few months earlier in the year, you could find all kinds of insects around you. Butterflies, ants, bees, and lots more. But then winter comes and they're just gone. And it's weird too. I mean, it's not like there are no animals out in winter. For example, you might still see deer or squirrels, even a few birds, like if you get a chance to watch a bird feeder. So where do all the insects go? What do you think? Well, I grew up somewhere cold and snowy, and I used to wonder this myself. But before I tell you about where insects go in winter, let me give you a clue involving a very different kind of animal. These, frogs. You see, I'm kind of obsessed with frogs, and one of my favorite places to visit when I was younger was this pond that was near where I lived. I'd look for frogs there. I actually got to be pretty good at catching the frogs, showing them to my friends and family, and then releasing them again into the pond. But every winter, the pond would freeze over, and the frogs would disappear. It wasn't just the frogs either. I started to notice there'd never be any turtles in winter, and never any snakes too. It was kind of sad for me, actually. I missed seeing all these creatures I would find in the summer. One winter, while walking around the edge of the frozen pond, I was bored. I saw this rotten log sitting there, nothing too unusual. But since I was bored, I decided to flip it over. As I flipped it over, I was totally shocked by what I saw. There, under the log, nestled into the freezing cold mud, was this frog in the middle of winter. It was just laying there, barely moving. Whoa, wait a second. The frogs were there the whole time? That's when I learned that frogs do something kind of like hibernation. They go into a long sleep in winter, burying themselves in the mud when it first starts to get cold in the fall. I'd heard of hibernation before, but thought it was something that only bears did. And it turns out it's not just frogs and bears, but turtles do this as well. And snakes. In fact, some snakes, like these, will actually all gather in a big pile, like in a cave underground, which helps them to stay warm. Oh yeah, I never thought about where the snakes went. So now, what about insects? Could it be that they hibernate during the winter too? I'll be honest with you, when I first heard this question, where do bugs go in winter? I thought you might be really disappointed by the answer, because the first thing I thought of were insects like these, praying mantises. Praying mantises are one of many insects that, well, the answer is they don't survive the winter. They die. While it's sad, it's part of their life cycle. Every fall, praying mantises, and lots of other insects too, will lay eggs that do survive. So even though the adults don't survive the winter, by spring, babies will be born and their life cycle will go on. But as I started to research more about this question, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that not all insects die in the winter. Now, I'd known that some insects, like monarch butterflies, will actually escape the cold by flying thousands of miles farther south to reach warmer places. They migrate, just like many birds do. But what about hibernation? Are there any insects that can do something similar to what frogs, turtles, and bears do, where they stay alive all winter but just aren't very active? In fact, there are. Like these, ladybugs are a good example. And just like the snakes you saw earlier, ladybugs will often gather together in a big pile in a warm place. Sometimes they even try to stay warm by sneaking their way into people's houses. If you live somewhere cold in winter, you might be able to notice ladybugs doing this too. So, in summary, insects and other bugs have different ways of surviving cold, snowy winters. Some of them fly south to warmer places. Others die but lay eggs. And still others are able to survive all winter. They do something similar to hibernation. That's all for this week's question. Thanks, Kylie, for asking it.
The world is filled with incredible wonders. Before you vote on next week's question, we've put together some surprising facts about animals that we'd love to show you. Take a look inside, or if you don't have time, you can skip straight to voting.
All right, my friends, top 5 weirdest ways that animals deal with the cold. Number 5. Whoa, what's going on with this turtle? Oh my goodness, you guys, look at. He literally has a ground on his back with grass growing out of the top. Bet you that keeps him real warm. Some turtles spend their winter buried in mud. When they wake up, they have a clump of mud on their shell.
Number 4.
Number 4. When winter came, this frog didn't burrow far enough into the mud. What do you think has happened to his body? Uh-oh. He didn't go far enough into the mud. Look at what's on him. It looks like ice. I wonder if he's still alive. Poor froggy. Gotta go down further. Sadly, the frog looks frozen solid, but this is no ordinary frog. This frog, called a wood frog, has superpower. Its blood contains a special chemical that stops the frog from freezing. Once it warms up, it'll just hop away. Wow, that's amazing. Animals really do have superpowers. Look at him go. No big deal. Now he's warm. Oh, good job, frog. There's another one. Okay.
Number 3.
Number 3. What do you think has happened here? Ooh, look at that animal with the teeth sticking out. I wonder what animal that is. Oh, looks like an alligator or a crocodile. What's going to happen? He's frozen into the water. These are alligator snouts sticking above the ice. There he is. It doesn't usually get cold where alligators live, but as long as they keep their snouts above the water, then they will survive. So they have to stick their snout out and the rest of their bodies underneath the icy cold water. There he goes, putting him in water that doesn't have ice on it. Oh my goodness, look at all the snow. He looks like Santa. He's a Santa alligator, a Santa-gator. Okay.
Number 2.
Number 2. Can you guess what's happening here? What is that? Wow. It's kind of pretty. What is that, my friends? These are starlings. Many of them migrate south for the winter, and when they do, they travel in huge groups. So during the winter, they go south so that it's warmer. Very cool. Alrighty.
And now, the last one.
Number 1. These are called snow monkeys. They live in the snow mountains of Japan. How do you think they stay warm? Let's look at them. How do these monkeys stay warm? Look at all that snow. What do you think? How could they stay warm? I bet you that water's cold. Their fur definitely helps them, but they also love to go for a dip in the nearby spring. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's almost like a hot tub, like a jacuzzi. Look at them sitting in there. It looks warm. Do you see the steam coming off? Probably warms them up.